Okay, so we're going to look at now two finishing options with that same overhook. And this is also in the course of him trying to pass. The thing I want to stress though is when you have an overhook, you're forcing his arm to stay in a forward position. You're trapping the arm, all right? And so he can't pull it out. He'll eventually get it free, but for now it's stuck, all right? And the thing is, if I'm at a rest and he can pull away relative to that, he can get his arm out. But if when he tries to pull out, I sort of go with him, go ahead. And see, I kind of stick to him. That way there's a bit of give there so that I can keep my overhook. Because what goes up also can come back down, and I can even use that in some ways. Now the first thing is going to be a triangle choke. So we're here like this, and I might have it right from here where I'm making him really work to open my guard. And I'm on my side. You see, if I have an overhook like this, he can pull it out easily. But if I'm on my side, then I can crowd that shoulder. Notice also I put my hand on my own chest to make it tight so that it's closed at both ends. If my hand is floating, then I have to use my bicep to try to curl and hold it, and that's a lot more work. If I put my hand here up on my chest, then he can feel that it's clamping down on him. It's a lot tighter. My other hand that's free is going to go to his wrist. All right, and I can manipulate this several ways. All right, I can pull it in and set my leg over and cross my ankles. I can push it down, or I can pull it out and bring my foot through this way while still holding the wrist. So it depends partly on how flexible you are, how long your legs are, where your hips are. These are the factors that influence whether I can get my foot out one way or the other. So I'm going to pull on it in this case. The easy way is always to push his hand inside and just set your leg over his shoulder and cross your ankles immediately. You got to squeeze immediately this way and this way. My heels are pulling toward his back, toward my butt. So you're contracting your hamstrings and you're squeezing. Then he's going to try to build posture. So I've got his head and I'm going to raise my hips and get his arm across. I let the overhook out because it's already served its purpose. I've got the arm across and then I pull him back in close to me. Grab my shin, foot goes to the hip, and then I can rotate. But I've got to break his posture and keep him here. Notice there are two things, my leg that I'm holding on to and my hand on his head, both of which are keeping him down, his head down. Now, in order to get his head up, he needs his hips forward. That's part of why my foot is pushing on his hip, to keep his hips back, so he can't rebuild his posture. And then I also use that to rotate, get my angle, and then I can squeeze my knees together, pull on his head, raise my hips, and I got my triangle. So always see an overhook as a potential triangle. This also goes for, if you're inside the guard, someone's really clamping down the overhook, you should really be on your guard watching for triangle choke attempts until you get that arm free. So once again, we're here. My guard is closed. All right. So as he's trying to open this up, I grab the wrist, and I can even pop it off this way. As long as his elbow collapses a little bit in, I can then push it down as I set my leg over, but I've got to be tight right here. This is where people lose it. If my legs are loose, he gets his posture up, and then he pushes, this one's outside, he'll push down on my hips, and he'll shake, 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 and break it open again. All right, and that was partly my fault because my legs were loose. Whereas if I'm here, notice I'm tight on this overhook. I push this in. As soon as I set this over, I'm clamping and I'm pulling. Now try to get your posture. He's not going to get it. Now I get the arm across and I've got it. So keeping everything tight and making you move quickly and getting to the next, you see there's a series of points where you can go from one point that you can hold to the next point. There's a transition where things could be loose, but you don't waste time, you don't loosen up. And you get to the next position, the next position. So when people get too loose in these transitions, that's where it falls apart. Okay, second finish is pretty simple, but it can still catch people. I'm off to this side, and what's happening is he knows he needs to pull this out. So as he tries to pull it out, I start to cut in like this. And what happens is, you bend your elbow as you're pulling it through. It goes through like this. I'm joining my hands together, my knee comes across his chest, and now I extend this way. So with the overhook, as long as it's tight, he's trying to pull it out. I'm winding it in this way. I crank it in, I join my hands together, and my knee comes across, which holds him away. As I extend, I slide my shoulders. I'm pushing with my leg as I'm winding this out. And it gets him in probably the weirdest Americana you'll ever see or do. Okay, so there are some options. Now, another thing too is that overhook could go to an inverted cross arm lock. I'll add a third finish. When I'm like this, he's trying to pass, but I put my foot on his hip and I string it out this way. His arm doesn't turn this way. If it turns this way, I can go for omoplata, or I can just let it pop out and go right here, hook it here. So any overhook that strings out, if he doesn't turn his arm this way, it goes straight or turns the other way. Straight out, it's semi-inverted cross arm lock. It turns under, it's omoplata. So it's important to look at all eventualities and say, well, when he's pulling out that overhook, it might go this way. It might stay straight this way, or it might turn this way. And then you've got an option for each of those.